What is now considered to be one of the most famous houses in history? That's right, the Amityville house. But why is this house so famous? Well, today we're going to take a trip to the infamous Amityville house. But before we do, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And let's get started. The house is located at 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York, just 30 miles from New York City. The home was built in 1924. It is a 5,100 square foot Dutch colonial style mansion with 2.5 stories. It has 10 rooms, including 9 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. The grounds are almost an acre in size. This was an idyllic neighborhood, but on November 13th, 1974, everything would change. On that night, Ronald Butch DeFeo Jr., a troubled young man who had recently dropped out of college, went on a shooting spree, killing every member of his family. He then called the police and told them that he had found their bodies. At first, he even tried to implicate the mafia, claiming that his father, Ronald Isar, had been involved in illegal activities. But soon enough, Butch confessed to the murders. He said that he had planned the crime for months, having taken sleeping pills from his sister Dawn as stash to make sure his family members would not wake up. He also admitted that he had shot each of his family members in the head while they slept. For some reason, he spared his youngest brother, John Matthew, but returned to kill him in cold blood. Why he chose to shoot his entire family is unknown. But he did claim that he heard voices telling him to carry out the massacre. Those voices would play a key role when he stood trial for his crimes. In court, his defense lawyer attempted to argue that Butch was insane when he committed the murders. This was a bold move because New York did not have any facilities for housing mentally ill prisoners. It didn't work. In the end, he was convicted for 6 counts of murder and given 6 consecutive life sentences. He spent 46 years behind bars before dying in 2021, but whether he was truly insane is still debated. Now, what does this all have to do with the house? Well, less than a year after those horrific murders, the house was sold. However, the sale was approved and George moved into the house along with his wife, Kathy, and their 3 children. All seemed normal until strange things began to happen. In his 1979 book, The Amityville Horror, author Jay Anson wrote, "The haunting began immediately." He goes on to describe how the couple felt uneasy and disturbed inside the house. Just 28 days after they moved in, they fled. In their haste, they didn't even bother to pack their things. But what had driven them out? Well, according to George and Kathy, the house was haunted by the ghosts of the DeFeo family. They said that slime would ooze from the walls, cold spots would appear, and disembodied voices could be heard. The most disturbing event occurred in the middle of the night. George would wake up every single night at precisely 3:15 a.m. Now, you may think that's strange, but there's a reason for that. You see, the DeFeo murders had also occurred at 3:15 am. Furthermore, these disturbances only lasted for about a week, leading the couple to believe that they were somehow connected to the murders. Then George started experiencing something else. Every morning he woke up with scratches on his body. These were strange because he never scratched himself and his wife said she didn't do it either. Then there were the more supernatural occurrences. The couple said that they witnessed full-bodied apparitions of the DeFeo family, especially Dawn and Allison. One time they heard footsteps in the hallway and turned to see Dawn standing there. She then walked through the wall and disappeared. Another time, George saw a pair of young girls walking down the stairs. Again, they vanished when he got close. The Lutzes also claimed that during a seance, Kathy's arm and leg bones cracked and popped back into place, meaning that she had transformed into a different shape. Yeah, really. Kathy would also levitate and shake violently. The couple also spoke of a demon that lived in the house. They described it as a large, furry, pig-like creature with glowing red eyes. This beast would often block their path, causing them to stumble and fall. Sometimes they heard it gnawing on bones in the basement. Other times, it sniffed their hands, leaving strange scratches. They escaped the house, fleeing to a hotel, and from there to their attorney's house. Eventually, they reached out to priests who blessed the house and performed exorcisms, but nothing changed. Finally, the couple was forced to leave the home completely. After moving out, they tried to put the house up for sale, but quickly withdrew when potential buyers backed out after hearing the strange stories. The Lutz family soon found themselves trapped in a house that was worth only $80,000, but that they couldn't sell and had to rent. It was during this time that the story of the Amityville horror really took off. See, the Lutz family hired Jay Anson to write a story about their experiences in the house. The book was titled The Amityville Horror. It became an instant bestseller, spawning many sequels. The story gained traction in the media and was picked up by filmmakers. In 1979, the very first Amityville horror movie was released. The film starred James Brolin and Margot Kidder. Since then, over a dozen films based on the supposed hauntings have been released. The latest was in 2005, starring Melissa George and C. Thomas Howell. It seems the story won't be ending anytime soon. Of course, the whole thing is a fraud. We now know that the Lutz family made the whole thing up. Or did they? Not quite. You see, there is evidence that some strange things did happen in that house. It wasn't the work of demons or ghosts, however. Several journalists and researchers have come forth with alternative theories. One theory is that the home was contaminated by toxic chemicals, which may explain the illnesses, rashes, insomnia, and other physical ailments that befell the Lutz family. Others say that the house was simply in a state of disrepair, with faulty wiring, mold, and asbestos. And still others point to George and Kathy's son, John, as the source of the disturbances. After all, he was just 9 years old at the time and staying in the home following the murders. It's possible that he imagined or dreamt up the events and convinced his parents and the author of the story. But maybe there is something else at work here. After all, several people have reported experiencing strange phenomena in the home, including scratching on doors and windows, shaking beds, and seeing shadowy figures. The current owner of the home has apparently had enough of people showing up to gawk at it. She changed the address to a post office box, and visitors are usually turned away. That doesn't mean that people haven't gotten in, however. YouTube videos of people supposedly exploring the home exist, but they seem to have been recorded with permission. Perhaps there really is something haunting the home, or perhaps it's just an elaborate hoax that's taken on a life of its own. What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Remember to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time.